Hey, this is Mike, and today's video is about how to set up a basic UI for your game with both a screen space and a world space UI at the same time. We'll see how to set that up in URP very quickly, as I've had a few questions about how to get it to work. It works fairly well, so just let's get started, and we'll start creating a UI. If you actually want to start with the same environment, you can take a look at my last video, which is all about how to set up this third-person controller asset from the Unity starter assets. So take a look here, and I'll also leave a link down below, and you can watch that video to find out how to set this up. So first, what we want to do is bring in some UI elements, and for that today I'm just going to use one of Synty's UI packs. So I'm bringing in the Synty Sci-Fi Soldier HUD Unity package that is actually in the latest Humble Bundle So if you want to get that, you can go to the Humble Bundle. I'll leave a link down below for that. And we just want to import this. It comes as a package, so we want to go Assets, Import Package, Custom Package, and then select the file, and then just import that. And it will ask you for this updating consent. It wants to update the API for Unity 6, so select yes, and it'll update its scripts that it has. And it will ask you to import the Text Mesh Pro Essentials as well. So we just import those, and we can clear the console errors. So now that we have it imported, it goes into the Synty folder, Interface Sci-Fi Soldier HUD, and what we're going to do is set up the screen space UI, the normal UI. So we want to create a UI canvas, and that'll create a canvas and an event system, and we'll call the canvas screen space UI. And it will automatically have the layer of UI set to it. So inside the folder we have some prefabs. And we're going to look at the player health equipment one, and we can bring in a health bar asset, and we're going to use the Sci-Fi Health current weapon bracket one. Just drag it and drop it on top of your canvas, and it will come in automatically. And what we need to do to set up the canvas is to select scale with screen size. And we can do match the height, and we're going to set it up as 1920 by 1080. And as you can see, that fixes the issue. Now if you want to do 4K, you can do that as well. So that would be 3840 by 2160, and it'll be much smaller. So, and then we want to position that, so let's go to 2D mode and then do a focus on it, and then we can just drag this around by clicking it, and we drag it down to the right corner, and we can set the anchor to the bottom right corner, and then as we scale up and down, it should stay in the same spot. And if you want to get rid of this little cable thing at the end, these are called greebles in this pack. So if you want to get rid of it, you can unpack this prefab, unpack completely, and then go into this bracket one. Anything that says greeble is just these decorations. So if we delete it, or we can turn it off, and then it will go away. So you may or may not want to see that. So, and then we can move it farther into the corner. Make sure the entire thing is selected. And we can then move that into the corner more. So we can bring in a mini map as well. So let's drag that in. And that one goes in the center by default. but we can just drag that over to where we want it. So let's just drag that up into the top right corner. We'll drag it up there and do the top right. So that should be fine. And we have a list of objectives we could put up here as well. And if you want to make those bigger to be able to see them better, because they're a little small to begin with, but we'll just unpack that. And we'll just go into the text on the list and just have to update the text, the label size. We'll make it 72. Okay, so now we have a basic screen space UI, and we'll see that that will work. And those are working. You could always put like a underneath this objective one if you want to do that. You can create an image and then be like the objective BG background, and then we could put the objective on top of it. Let's first put this in the top right. And we can do that and drag this into, and then what we want to do is change the alpha of that, and we can make it a darker color. That way we could see them better when we're running around. Easier to read. So that's the screen space UI. Now let's create a world space UI. So now what we want to do is create a UI canvas, and we'll call this one world space UI. This one will have its own layer because we're going to change the camera stacking later. So we'll call it world space UI. So we'll put that layer to world space UI, and then we just change this to world space. And we can put the main camera as the event camera. That's for clicking on things. I probably don't need that, but I'll put it there just for now. And that's all you need to do for this. And then we can now bring in some world space prefabs. So they have some here. They give you these world space objectives. So let's bring in the world space objective and put it on top of the world space UI. These are way too big by default. So what we need to do is lock the scale link and maybe put it to 0.01, and then we can bring it into the scene. So we want to make sure the actual canvas is at the origin too before we can see it. So there's the world space objective. Now it's next to the player. So now it's easier to move it around. So let's move that back. And we're going to put it in behind this for now. And then we'll see that it will work just like this without any camera setup or anything like that. So now if I run around to the other side here, I will see it. There's our objective marker. So, and the player will be on top of it. Everything's on top of it. So you can't see it from across the map through any geometry. So now if you want to do that, if you want to see this through the geometry, what we need to do is camera stacking on an overlay camera. So what we want to do is click on the main camera and create a new camera called the UI camera. We want to make that as a child of the main camera. So the UI camera, and we want to reset its position to all zeros, and make sure we set it as overlay. And we also want the culling mask to be only the world space UI layer. So that's what it's going to render. And then the main camera, we change the culling mask to everything except the world space UI. And we also want to remove the audio listener from the new camera, since there should only be one. So now, and we still can't see our UI element, what we need to do is add the overlay camera as in the stack. So now we have the overlay camera, and now you will be able to see the element through everything. There's the icon. We're seeing it through all the geometry and the player as well, even on top of the player. And as we can see, the player can still be behind things, but the UI is always going to be on top, the world space. So what if you don't want this to show through the player? Is there a way to get it so that this doesn't show through the player, the world space UI? Because it can be a little confusing when you get up close to it to actually determine where it's located, like, because it's always on top of your character. So is there a way? So let's take a look at a couple of ways on how to solve this problem, and we'll see the pitfalls of that as well. Okay, so what we can do, and this is what I did in my previous video, but it can cause problems. So what we can do is take the culling mask, and we take the player out of the culling mask for the main camera, and we just put it in the world space camera, the overlay camera. Now you notice that the player's location changed. Let's see. If I leave the player in, you'll see that there's two players. It looks like there's two players now. It's just because this camera has a different field of view. So first of all, we want to match the field of view to 40. So they both have the same field of view. And then that'll fix that problem. So if we put that in the UI camera, so we have now the world space UI and the player are on the same layer. So now it should not be visible through the player. And you can take it out here, but as you notice, the shadow goes away because the overlay camera doesn't produce the shadow, it's the main camera. So what we can do here is you could leave the player in both cameras. So both cameras are using it. So there's basically two players on top of each other, but I mean, it doesn't look. There's no glitches that I could see here. But so now it is not visible. So that's good. That's what we want. And then, but here's the problem. The problem now is that the player cannot go behind an object. It'll look like it's in front of it. So there's the player, it's behind this object, but like this, it's showing right through. So that's a problem right there. So we need to explore a different way of fixing this. One way you can do it is to change the camera distance. So let's do that. And the follow camera right now is set to the distance of 4. So, but if we go down to 1.5, say, the character will be a lot closer to the camera. So when we're behind something, you know, it won't be as obvious. So let's do that and see. And it shows a little bit maybe, but it solves that mostly. So if you don't mind the character being that close, or we can even, it might have to go a little bit closer than that. So 1, and then that really, like you wouldn't know that because it's so close, it wouldn't be a problem. Right, and then when it gets up close, it just zooms in anyway. So that's one possible fix to this. The other fix is a little bit more setup required, so I'm going to cover that fix in my next video. So there we have it. There's the simple world space plus screen space UI setup. Hope this helps for the people who have been having trouble getting it to work. This is how you do it in URP. So that's it for this video. If you want to like and subscribe and comment down below. If you have any issues with this, let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do to help you out. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.